Hey everybody, it's Amy Berger here again. Thanks for joining me for video number 4. And if the views on video number 3 are any indication, the video on macros, I was right to start this channel because that video on macros seems pretty popular and it tells me that there is a need and a desire for someone to talk simplicity and for someone to remind everybody out there how easy and how simple and uncomplicated keto and low carb are when we allow them to be. So some house cleaning items, some business. I have notes again because this is a very important topic today and I didn't want to screw it up. I am not going to be able to keep up with the comments. Someone even told me not to even read the comments. So if you have a burning question that absolutely positively requires an answer from me, send me an email. It's a much faster way to reach me. I cannot guarantee you that I'll see it in the comments. So my email is tuitnutrition@gmail.com, tuitnutrition@gmail.com. All right, today we're going to talk about really what keto is and how and why it works. And the reason I had to do this video is because I really want to do a video on measuring ketones and how to interpret ketones. Do you need to measure? And I can't really do that without doing this first. We have to set this foundation because depending on why you are using a ketogenic diet, that determines the relative importance of measuring or whether you need to measure at all. The truth is most people don't, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's one video at a time. Looking at the notes here, so what is a ketogenic diet? A ketogenic diet is a fat-burning diet. And the way that this happens is when you cut your carbs way, way down, when you have very, very little carbohydrate coming into the body, your body transitions over to using a different primary fuel. Instead of primarily being fueled by glucose from carbohydrate, it's going to be fueled on fats, not on ketones, on fats. I'll talk more about that in the next video on measuring ketones. But sometimes you'll hear people say, keto is when there's not enough carbs in the body, so the body is forced to burn fat. And that's true, but I would posit more that the body is allowed to burn fat. When you remove the carbohydrate from the body is able to burn fat. When you have very high glucose coming in all the time, when you have high insulin, your body can't burn fat. Insulin is directly inhibitory to the fat burning process. So keto, by being very low carb, allows, not forces, allows, permits, facilitates the body burning fat. And let's see, where are we? So I actually dislike the word ketogenic and I really dislike LCHF, low carb, high fat. The reason I dislike this is because it puts the emphasis on the wrong place. Ketogenic or keto puts the emphasis on ketosis, on the production of ketones, on the level of ketones, and LCHF, low carb, high fat, really kind of gives equal emphasis to low carb and high fat. And if I can impart nothing else to you in this video, the single most important message I can give you is that the vast majority of therapeutic metabolic health benefits of this way of eating come from lower blood sugar and lower insulin, not from high ketones. I will say that again. The vast majority of the benefits of this way of eating come from correcting chronic hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, and chronic hyperinsulinemia, chronically high insulin, not from a high level of ketones. So depending on why you're using a ketogenic diet, your ketone level may not matter at all. You may not even be producing ketones that are that high. If your primary goal in using a restricted carbohydrate diet is fat loss, improving your blood sugar, improving your insulin sensitivity, type 2 diabetes, PCOS, hypertension, gout, cardiovascular disease, any of these things that we know to be insulin resistance conditions, then it is far more important for you to have a very low carb intake than it is for you to have a very high fat intake. Again, what prompts this metabolic shift is the low carbs, not the high fat and not the ketones. And the reason I have to harp on this so much is because I see a lot of people getting into trouble if their main goal is losing body fat and assuming they have a significant amount of weight to lose. they've been told on various and sundry keto forums and blogs, and even maybe from other people doing videos, that, you know, keto is a high fat diet. You have to eat a lot of fat. You have to hit your fat macro. Hopefully I took care of that, you know, red herring or elephant, whatever you want to call it, in the previous video. You do not have to have a high fat intake. What you have to have is a very low carb intake. If you are using keto for something else, particularly a neurodegenerative disorder. Some people are using this for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, obviously. In some of those conditions, the absolute level of ketones might be important. So I'm not saying it's never important, but I emphasize again, it depends on your goal, right? Hashtag context. So let's consult the notes here again. Even in those neurodegenerative conditions, or not even just neurodegenerative and neurological, some people use keto for mood and emotional and sort of psychiatric issues like bipolar, anxiety, depression. A lot of people have very, very good improvement with keto for those. Again, in some of those, it might be the ketones. In some of those, especially anxiety, it might be evening out the blood sugar. I personally think a lot of what we consider anxiety is wild ups and downs in blood sugar. You know, the hangry, the irritability. A lot of anxiety mimics some of the classic hypoglycemia signs and symptoms. But even putting all that aside, even that's just speculation. So even if that's wrong, there are other biochemical mechanisms by which not just a keto diet, but a fat-based diet changes the way neurons communicate and the way they fire. It's not to geek out too much, but it has to do with like polarization of neuronal membranes, different electrolyte balances in and out of the cell. So even some of the therapeutic benefits in those brain issues and those mood issues might not even be coming from the ketones themselves. Some of them might, but there's so many other mechanisms by which this diet exerts its effect. So I really so much try to emphasize the phrase low carb rather than keto and rather than LCHF. Of course, I use the word keto a lot, even in this channel, because that's the buzzword. How's anyone going to find me? Nobody's searching for low carb anymore, right? That was 1992 when I started low carb. Nobody's searching for low carb. Everybody's searching keto. So I do use that word, but I really prefer low carb. And there's an orthopedic surgeon named Gary Fettke out of Tasmania in Australia. And yes, Tasmania is a real place. It's not just some fictional place where that character from the Warner Brothers cartoons is from. It's a real place. And Gary Fettke uses, he calls LCHF low carb healthy fat. That I can get on board with, but I think we're so far down the path with low carb high fat that it's hard to correct that and say, no, it's healthy fat. So I just prefer to say low carb, because that is what is driving the vast majority of clinical and therapeutic effects we see with this way of eating. Now, when it comes to, again, low carb, high fat, I kind of alluded to this last time, and I'll talk a little more about it next time in the measuring ketones video. You don't have to have a high fat intake. You need a low carb intake. And I see a lot of people who are adding fat to food, eating a very, very high fat percentage, and wondering why they're not losing body fat. You know, they're disappointed and frustrated. Well, even if this is a high fat diet, remember that some of that fat is coming from your stored body fat. It doesn't have to come from the avocados and the fat bombs and the cream cheese and the oil. You know, it could come from the bagel and cream cheese that you ate 6 years ago that's stored on the old arms and the chin and the belly and the hips. So, all right, I want to keep this video short. I'm already at 8.5 minutes here. Something else to remember, and I will definitely go into more detail in this on the next video, is that you can be a fat burner without having high ketones. What did she say? Yes, you can absolutely have a fat-based metabolism even if you don't have high ketones. I think even Dr. Stephen Phinney is questioning what the threshold is for nutritional ketosis or for the therapeutic benefits. Forget ketosis altogether. What is the threshold that somebody might begin to experience clinical benefits? If you're not familiar with Dr. Stephen Phinney, he's world-renowned, been doing research on keto longer than just about anyone on the planet, longer than I've been alive, just about. Maybe when I was 4 or 5 years old, he may have started his research. And he and co-author Jeff Volek in one of their books kind of posited that the threshold for nutritional ketosis is beta hydroxybutyrate in the blood of 0.5 millimolar. But Virta Health, a sort of diabetes reversal metabolic health company that he is part of, has done some clinical trials now where they're showing magnificent improvements, if not reversals. I know that word is very controversial, but significant improvement in type 2 diabetes, to the point where people are, moving either from the diabetic category to the pre-diabetic category, or even to the non-diabetic. Their blood sugar, their A1C is quote unquote normal enough that they're no longer considered diabetic. They're getting off their insulin, they're getting off their meds. And in one of their studies, the mean beta hydroxybutyrate level was 0.6. So now that's the mean, it's the average. It means there were a lot of people higher, but there were some people lower. So you can, what this shows us is you don't have to have high ketones to be able to have dramatic reductions in your blood sugar, in your medication needs. So you can get the benefits of this diet even when you don't have high ketones. And it's kind of like the rectangle square thing, that old saying where every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. Every ketogenic diet is a low carb diet, but not every low carb diet is a ketogenic diet. They are both, however, fat burning diets, right? You can be low carb, you can have a fat-based metabolism and just not be generating high ketones. People's bodies really vary in their natural tendency to generate high ketones. I mean, there's some people who can eat a fairly significant amount of carbs and still be in ketosis, and some of us really can't. And there's so many other things that affect that, but the main message is that the benefits of this diet are rooted in the low carbohydrate intake, not the high fat intake and not the high ketone level. So everybody's so obsessed with chasing ketones and measuring and tracking and using all these devices, when all they really need to do is keep carbs very, very low. And that's going to be a whole other video, because there are some people who can reap the benefits of this way of eating on kind of a moderate carb. Low carb is not really defined. It could be 50 grams, it could be 100 grams. I think I've seen Dr. Eric Westman present where he, and maybe some of the other researchers as well, had classified low carb as between, I want to say 50 and 150 grams a day, because compared to what the average American or the average, industrialized nation person is eating, 150 grams could be low. If you were eating 300 a couple of years ago, well, or even 180, whatever, that type of gram is low in comparison to what a lot of other people are eating. Is it ketogenic? No. Is it low carb? For most people, yeah. All right, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in this. I'm going to stop repeating myself. I know I have a tendency to do that. I do it on my blog too. Should I plug for that too at nutrition.com? What's coming up? I'm speaking at the Weston A. Price conference called Wise Traditions in Baltimore. I think it's the weekend of the 16th and 17th of November. And I'll be appearing in Kingston, Ontario. Canadians, hey, come out and see us. Come out to Kingston, Ontario, December 1st. I'll be there. Megan Ramos from the IDM clinic, the fasting expert, she'll be there. Dr. Doug Bishop, who is a keto-friendly physician in Ontario, will be there. So if you're looking for a keto-friendly doctor in the area, you will find one there. Other than that, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you find these videos helpful. Leave comments. Again, if you have something that you really need to have answered, send me an email, or you can contact me through the blog. And next up, we'll be measuring ketones. It's a big topic. It's an important topic. And I hope that I can calm everybody down about the numbers. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.